Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Maths with Miss S. Let's talk about adding and subtracting fractions. The most important thing when we add or subtract fractions is we have to make sure that the denominator of all fractions that are involved is the same. So all of our fractions have to have the same bottom number, because this bottom number determines what kinds of shapes or pieces we're dealing with. Am I dealing with halves, fifths, sevenths? I can't just say, well, I have 1/2 and 2/5 and it's 3. What kind of pieces is it? So we have to figure out what that common denominator is that I can cut all my pieces into in order to add. But before we get there, let's just add fractions that already have the same denominator, like 3/7 and 2/7 right there. 3/7 and 2/7 means I have 3 of something and 2 of something. So in total I have 5 of that same thing. My denominator does not change in that process. So that's one of the most important things as well to keep in mind. Yes, you're adding your numerators, you're adding your top numbers, but you're not making changes to the denominator, given that you already had the same denominator for all fractions. You have to make changes at the start if it's not the same denominator, but once you're adding, you're not adding your denominators together or something like that. You only add your numerators, which means you're counting how many of these sevenths you have. So we have 3/7 and 2/7. We write all that on one fraction line with the same denominator, 7, and then we have 3 plus 2, which is 5/7. Now let's try that with the simple subtraction as well. 5/7 minus 2/7. Let's check, as always, if the denominator is the same or not. Now, these two fractions both have the denominator 7, which means I can simply subtract the two numerators from one another because we're dealing with the same kinds of pieces. We're dealing with sevenths, so I have 5 of them and I take away 2 of them, so I'm left with 3 of these sevenths. In fraction notation, everything that has the same denominator can be written on one common fraction line with the denominator that they have in common, which is 7, and then the numerators with their sign in between, so the subtraction sign there goes in the middle of them. 5 minus 2 is 3/7. Now, this was quite easy so far, so when the denominator is the same, you just add or subtract your two fractions by adding the numerators. If you have different denominators, you need to find a common denominator. Watch the next video to know how.